My name is Marcelin Cissé. I'm the Director General of the Strategy and Aid Coordination from Côte d'Ivoire, Ministry of Planning and Development from Côte d'Ivoire. We are being directed by the Governor of Côte d'Ivoire, the Ministry of Planning, to attend this important meeting.
Mon nom est Cissé Aboubakar. Je suis conseiller technique du ministre du Plan et du Développement. Il nous a délégué de la représenter à cette réunion. Merci. Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci. Je m'appelle Doumbia Aboubakari. Je suis le conseiller technique du ministre en charge de l'économie et des finances. Merci. Qui est le gouverneur suppléant. Je représente la Côte d'Ivoire au sein de la BAD. Merci.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Duwe. I'm from KfW, and we are just here as an observer, as we are only a lender to Shelter Afrique.
My name is Christian Kampen, also KfW.
Julius Karuga from the African Development Bank.
I'm Femi Adewale. I'm Acting Managing Director, Shelter Afrique.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Mrs. Diallo, Director of Private Sector Department of the African Development Bank. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Khalifa. I'm from the African Development Bank.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Gabriel Negatu. I'm the Director General of the African Development Bank for East Africa, based in Nairobi, across the street from the Shelter Afrique headquarters. Let me, on behalf of the Vice President, thank you all for coming. We are expecting a few more people, but this being the end of the conference, the end of the annual meetings, some people may have left earlier, but all the same, let me thank you for coming. This meeting we have today is a follow-up to the annual general meeting of the Board of Governors that took place at the end of January in Nairobi. And this predates the next AGM, which will take place in Zimbabwe in July, I think. We are happy that we are joined by our colleague, Mr. Femi, who is the acting managing director of Shelter Afrique, and will at some point give us a quick update. But the purpose of this meeting, in a nutshell, is to ensure that this African institution called Shelter Afrique does not face uncontrolled liquidation. It has been on the verge of that for some time, and there's been efforts to ensure that this does not happen, and this is a continuation of that effort. And part of the strategy for ensuring that is that we need this institution needs urgent financial support from its member states now, and then to request lenders to put standstill in place, to give it some breathing room to organize its in-house and its financing before it resumes servicing its debt. At the current time, Shelter Afrique does not have enough cash to meet its liabilities into the future, and it's presently not writing any businesses. To address this issue, and to show confidence in the institution, the ADB has provided a $20 million emergency credit facility, which is due to disburse shortly. This will disburse shortly. And the recent downgrade of shelter to a CAA1 makes it even more harder for the institution to access additional credit. So we have the acting managing director of SHAF here, who will provide a quick overview of where the country stands, the current financial status, and the way forward in the short term. We also ask member countries to please attend the next AGM, which is scheduled for July 6th. I think critical decisions will be made at that AGM. So I want to encourage, on behalf of the ADB, to encourage all member countries at the highest level to attend the next AGM in Zimbabwe. With this, let me ask, with your permission, the acting MD to give us a quick overview and to respond to any questions. But before he does that, I've noticed we are joined by one or two additional colleagues. So those of you that have joined, please introduce yourself and say which institution you represent. Donc, vous avez le micro.
Oui, bonjour, mon nom est Wagam Diouf, je suis de Shelter Afrique. My name is Wagam Diouf. I am with Shelter Afrique. I handle investor relations.
I'm Sambo Koli. I'm from the Mastercard Foundation.
Thank you, Director Negatu, and thank you, colleagues, for making time out to be here. I think, as requested by the chair, I will just give some background to this meeting and also provide some updates about where the institution is. I think the starting point is to note the fact that at its annual general meeting held in June 2013 in N'Djamena, Chad, the 44 African countries who constitute the Class A shareholding for Shelter Afrique approved a capital call of $250 million payable in installments over 4 years by member countries to provide most needed equity capital for the growth strategy of the institution. The expiration of that window for paying up those share issues was December 2016. As at the end of December 2016, just under $20 million of that capital call had been paid by shareholders. At the same time that that event was happening, the institution, for initially totally unrelated reasons, but obviously came together, had a crisis that arose from a conflict between the former managing director and the director of finance. That involved an investigation by the Deloitte, and the outcome of all of that, to a large extent, triggered the situation that Director Negatu was referring to about the liquidity crisis that the institution now faces, in the sense that there was a significant loss of confidence by the lender bodies, which I think includes KFW, who are here in the room, which meant that much needed capital required for the day-to-day business of the institution was no longer forthcoming. So essentially you have two things. On one hand, the equity commitment from shareholders had not been forthcoming for a time, which meant that the growth of the institution in most member countries and the financing of its housing projects were primarily funded by debt secured from our DFI partners. When the events at the third quarter of 2016 happened, that funding window itself became significantly restrained. As a result of that, I wish to note that shareholders convened an extraordinary general meeting in Nairobi, Kenya on the 30th, the 31st of January 2017, so about 5 months ago. And at that extraordinary general meeting, a series of resolutions was passed. The first was that shareholders reaffirmed their commitment towards the institution as the primary delivery vehicle for housing across sub-Saharan Africa, and primarily for fulfilling their commitment to the new urban agenda, which they signed up to in Quito in October 2016. But more significantly for today's discussion, shareholders also committed to paying up their arrears on the 2013 capital call by the end of December 2017. They further resolved that all of the member countries will express that commitment in writing, but from both the finance minister and the housing minister within a week of the resolutions that were passed in Nairobi. So this is the basis for some of the discussions that we'll have today. So relative to those resolutions, where are we today? As at today, shareholders have, including the African Development Bank, have contributed actual cash of about $15 million to Shelter Afrique. Of the 44 member countries, we have received written commitments from 13 member countries with a cumulative value of just over $65 million.